Ji, please.
Right, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Honorable speakers, participants, Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. Thank you for joining us at the 47th anniversary of Institute of Strategic Studies. Before we begin, let me give you a little background on the Institute of Strategic Studies and how it has progressed. Let me begin by saying that four very important pillars have been the framework which have been crucial to the growth and nourishment of Institute of Strategic Studies as one of the premier think tanks in Pakistan, focusing on issues of security and foreign policy concerns to Pakistan. The number one pillar, of course, is support by our parent ministry, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Number two pillar is the guidance and expertise of its executive leadership over the years. Number three, of course, is the dedication and perseverance of its research fellows. And last but not the least, the devotion of its staff members. Ladies and gentlemen, the Institute of Strategic Studies has come a long way from the small office in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in 1973 to the house on the Margala Hills that many of you would remember, and of course, now to its dedicated building in F53 where we are right now, at least myself and Inam Saab. The Institute has grown and flourished in its achievements, including the expanse of its research and publications, the frequency of its events, addition to its library database, as well as the outreach to policymakers and similar think tanks, both at home and abroad. In all this while, the Institute of Strategic Studies has worked in close liaison with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Khurshid Saab will be talking to us later on this in detail. Ladies and gentlemen, such achievement has not been by accident. It has come after hours of dedication and hard work and trying of new ideas by people who have given their best in making sure that the Institute of Strategic Studies maintains its standards of performance and commitment to excellence through research and dialogue. Some of the predecessors who are here with us have taken time out to join us here for the 47th anniversary celebrations and share their thoughts. I'm very grateful to them. I would like to pay special tribute to Brigadier Noor Hussain, who set the pace and course of the Institute of Strategic Studies. It was under his guidance that many of our researchers got their training and polish in the art of reading and writing. I myself understood the true meaning of Ikra under his watch that I could never have had I remained associated with the field of journalism before joining Institute of Strategic Studies. I remember him sewing Ayatul Kursi in the bricks as they were laid during the construction of this building that we are in right now. To conclude, a very special thanks to Ambassador Aziz Ahmed Chaudhry, who has made us aware about the worth of celebrating and preserving the institutional memory. We shall, inshallah, be making the ISS anniversary celebrations an annual affair. With those brief remarks, may I now request Director General, Institute of Strategic Studies, Ambassador Aziz Ahmed Chaudhry, for his welcome remarks. By way of introduction, Ambassador Aziz Chaudhry is the 17th Director General of the Institute of Strategic Studies. He has been a career diplomat who served in the foreign services of Pakistan for 37 years. Besides serving in various key positions throughout his illustrious career, Ambassador Aziz served as Additional Foreign Secretary for UN and Disarmament. He was also Deputy Permanent Representative of Pakistan to the United Nations, Ambassador of Pakistan to the Netherlands, and a Foreign Office spokesman, as well as Ambassador of Pakistan to the United States of America. Ambassador Chaudhry was also Foreign Secretary of Pakistan for over 3 years. He is currently serving as the Director General since June 25th, 2018. Qazi Sahab, Azaz Sahab, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Najam. Thank you very much. May I join in Najam's warm words of welcome to all illustrious colleagues who have been part of the ISSI community. The reason we decided to celebrate this day was that we need to honor our traditions, that there were predecessors who came before us, and we need to recognize the contribution that they had made all those years. And we also want to pave the ground or prepare for the 50th anniversary 3 years down the line. So in a way, today's session will kickstart a process in which we will gather the information about all those who had contributed to ISSI in one way or the other in the past 47 years. And I'm very, very honored to see amongst these Ambassador Inamul Haq, who was a full-time chairman of the Institute of Strategic Studies and the Foreign Secretary and former Foreign Minister of Pakistan. Likewise, equally honorable is Sartaj Aziz Sahib, with whom throughout my foreign secretaryship 3 years, there was hardly a day, including the weekends, that we would not talk and I would not benefit from his wisdom. It has been amazing association that remains my great sense of pride. I'm also happy that former Directors General, we could not get everybody in, but in the 50th anniversary, we will find a way to get everybody in. But Ashraf Qazi Sahib is there. He made solid contributions. Ambassador Masood Khan, probably he'll be joining us shortly, will also be contributing, has contributed enormously before I came. And of course, there are all those colleagues. We also tried to get the old hands. And the very first researcher was Dr. Shahid Kamal, but we could not reach him. He's in Malaysia. But around the same time, Qasim Niaz was a research fellow here in the late 70s. He later, as you know, joined the Pakistan Administrative Service and served our country with distinction as Federal Secretary of the Government of Pakistan. So I have a special relationship with him because he is my batchmate in the civil services too. We are very happy that that Ambassador Khalid Mahmood has been probably the longest serving chairman now, whose wisdom, whose calm and quiet and composed personality has added a lot to this institute. I must also recognize the directors that are working here, the research fellows, the research associates, all of them form a formidable team. In the last 2 years in particular, we have come a long way. We have developed centers of excellence, which distinguishes us now from many other institutes, because we had that privilege that many institutes did not have. We have an assured source of funding from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and we have our own building, and we have the requisite manpower. These were three very different attributes that we thought we must make full use of and pay back to this country. So what have we done in the last few years is that we have increased our connection with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which is our sponsor, and we are being guided in our research and in our dialogue by the themes that are agitating the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Government of Pakistan at large. So whatever we are now researching on and whatever we are talking about are the issues that the Government of Pakistan thinks are important. In a way, we are now a an extended research arm of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. A few things that we will talk about in my roundup is that where is the future headed. But just to briefly mention that our priorities are to improve the quality of our research, for which we have instituted a number of in-house and other measures, upgraded our library. We also are synergizing the research work with the dialogue so that both can reinforce each other. And then we are also want to remain relevant to the Foreign Ministry, which is our sponsor. And last but not the least is the narratives. We have entered the age of narratives, and therefore that's why we are focusing only on themes that are relevant to the government of Pakistan's priority list, as well as of concern to them. So one of our primary tasks now has become to multiply the narratives, to augment, to enhance the narratives that the government wants to project. And these are the four priorities. In terms of vision, we want to keep the focus, we want to have a focused work, and that's why these centers of excellence, China Study Center, India Study Center, Middle East and Africa Center, and Arms Control and Disarmament Center. We think that these all are areas of crucial significance for Pakistan's foreign policy and security policy, and therefore the focus is our main vision, that we want to remain focused in terms of what we research on. The quality again is extremely important. Now, I talked about narrative. Our narrative cannot reach the West unless or until we are indexed to the agencies that store databases. So we are currently signed up with 18 databases, but now we have signed up with more than 7 indexing agencies. That means our articles are now being read in the West, in the scholarly circles, and cited. Even some of them are ready to pay for the little royalty, but that doesn't matter. That's not what we are looking for. What we are looking for is that our narrative must reach out there. हम इस एक कुएं में बंद होके ना रह जाएं कि हम अपनी ही बाज़गाश सुनते रहें. So that was the idea. So we have focused especially on quality and on narrative building. We also realize that this is an age of projection. So we are using almost every medium that has been made available by the social media, trying to reach out. And of course, bilaterally, we have enormous resource in terms of linkages with the various organizations. The COVID has brought about a phenomenal change in what we are doing, a phenomenal change, in the sense that we have learned the power of web-based interactions. And if you see the calendar that we have already covered in the last 1.5 months, we have done more than 17 web-based events, and we have lined up 25 web-based events. Some of the people that we were used to invite, for example, head of Elcano Institute in Spain is already lined up to speak to us by the web. Head of the SAM Institute in Turkey and Ambassador Inam Khokar was ambassador there. He is going to speak. He's already signed up to speak to us. Similarly, there are people from the United States. Many scholars have already signed up and will be. So I think our efficiency has gone up because of this. And our research work is also moving along well. But we could not have reached this stage had those of us who came before us had not contributed to it. And that is why I was very pleased to hear Najam recognize some of the names. But there are far more names who contributed to the foundations of this institute. And we want to celebrate this event day, 16 June every year, and hopefully a big event, whoever will be in the chair at that time for the 50th anniversary. I am very happy once again to welcome you very warmly to this web-based celebration of the 47th anniversary of the founding of the Institute of Strategic Studies. And you would now learn more from Director Administration, who is also a pillar of this institute and who will give you the history as it unfolded. Back to you, Najam.
Thank you so much, sir. Before I hand the floor over to Kurshi Sahab, a few administrative announcements. President Masood Khan has regretted because of his urgent commitment for another appointment. Secondly, Ross Masood Saab has sent in his text message, and I will read it out to you as we proceed along with the program. And thirdly, Chengiz Abbasi could not join us, one of our staff members, but he has sent us a short video, which we will be playing later in the program. Ladies and gentlemen, may I now request Mr. Khurshid Anwar, who is our Director Administration, for a brief presentation on the Institute of Strategic Studies then and now. Khurshid sir, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Najam Sahab. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Respected guests of honor, Ambassador Sartaj Aziz, former Chairman, Board of Governors, ISSI, Ambassador Anam al-Haq, former Chairman, ISSI, my former Director General Ashraf Jahangir Qazi, Ambassador Khalid Mahmood, Chairman, ISSI, Director General, Ambassador Azad Ahmad Chaudhry, my esteemed and worthy guests and dear colleagues, I welcome you to all to celebration of 47th of the ISSI founding history today, the 16th June. The seed of ISSI was planted 47 years ago on June 16, 1973, which now has transformed into a center of excellence, acknowledged both at home and abroad. The idea to celebrate the 47 years of ISSI formation is the brainchild of our Director General, Ambassador Azad Ahmad Chaudhry, and inshallah, it was decided that every year on this date, we will hold a gathering of our former colleagues. Before I start narrating the history, I must quote a maxim: those who do not honor and cherish their history are born to become history. Now, coming why Institute of Strategic Studies was established. After the separation of East Pakistan in 1971, the necessity was felt to establish a public policy institute that could focus on strategic issues of importance and concern to Pakistan. It was further observed that India had, after the 65 war with Pakistan, established a think tank called ISSI, Institute of Defense Studies and Analysis, that had played a vital role in policy thinking in secessionist movement in East Pakistan. The then President Islamic Jamhuriya of Pakistan, Mr. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, decided to establish a think tank and constituted a committee which was consisting of Mr. J. Rahim, who was then Minister of Production and Presidential Affairs, Mr. Aziz Ahmad, Secretary General, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Riyasuddin Ahmad, Secretary General, Ministry of Defense, and Mr. A.G. N. Qazi, Additional Finance Secretary, along with two other members from Foreign Office, one Additional Foreign Secretary, and the other one, the Director General, External Publicity. The committee deliberated the working paper and with consensus, the summary was put up to the then President of Pakistan on 25th October 1972. President approved the summary on October 29, 1972. All legal formalities were met and the institute was established. Initially, the institute was established as an autonomous, non-profit making body with its budgetary links to Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Its budget was guaranteed in the initial draft paper by the Finance Secretary. Initially, the institute was housed in room number 28 of Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Then it moved to rented a house in F63, where it stayed for 5 years. Then again shifted to another building till 1986. Its own building was constructed, and the institute shifted in its own building. This building was inaugurated by the then President, General Ziaul Haq, on 4th January 1987. And since then, this is the permanent home of the institute. The President also constituted a first board of governors with this head, Mr. Aga Elali, ex-foreign service member, and its first Director General, Mr. Ross Masood Hussain, ex-civil service. For the ease of reference, I have divided the institute in 3 stages. The first 5 was considered to be a settling years of the institute. The institute slowly found its bearings. After a study of Lieutenant General A.B. Awan on the direction of the President, the then President decided the Institute of Strategic Studies will reorganize as an autonomous body. Its working will be independent and without influence of any ministry. Its budget will be guaranteed. Its director will be vested with sufficient powers for the efficient functioning of the institute. Phase 2, from October 1972 to December 1986, was the consolidation period. As Najam Sahab already highlighted, that it was during this period, the Director General was Brigadier Noor Hussain, who has done a tremendous job and laid a founding stone on for the Institute of Strategic Studies. During his period, the organization and establishment of the institute was approved. It was registered under the Societies Registration Act 1861. Its bylaws and service rules were approved by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in consultation with the Ministry of Justice and Laws. Its organization was sanctioned and approved with 24 researchers and 32 administrative staffs. Since then, we are working on the most closely on the same establishment which was visualized in that day. Government pay scales were also adopted. Before that, there was just a lump sum pay given to the researchers, but during this period, the government pay scales were adopted and approved by the competent authority. CREST was finalized, and some of the substantive work done during his phase was Afghanistan report and Islamabad papers were initiated. Crisis management cell was instituted in the institute to brief the media regarding Iran-Iraq war and Afghanistan conflict. And first General was introduced, a journal was taken out in 1977, and which was further regularly published during his stay. These were the few hallmarks achieved during that period. Now, phase 3. The research work was conducted by Institute, has been published in our flagship publication, Strategic Studies, which has produced 156 issues since 1977, containing 913 peer-reviewed articles. Our issue briefs cover topical developments and are highly popular with young scholars and professionals. For leadership, confidential briefs were introduced. 4 centers of excellence were, as our Director General already mentioned it, were created from within our own resources. They were CPSC, China Pakistan Study Center, India Study Center, Center for Middle East and Africa, Arms Control and Disarmament Center. It was also mentioned by the Director General, the events that we held always synergized with our research work. Our library has been extended and digitalized. We have over 1 million e-books on our database, and all kinds of articles are available for researchers, our own and outside. The services are also provided by our library also. The Institute maintains relations with important think tanks in and out of Pakistan. At the present, we have institutional linkage with 44 similar think tanks abroad, and few are in Pakistan. The Institute works very closely with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs on several initiatives. In the wake of COVID-19, the Institute has adjusted well to the web-based dialogue. The ISSI website revamped and at present is state of the art and is a user-friendly. Management of the Institute rests with the Board of Governors appointed by Prime Minister of Pakistan, who are overall, who is the supreme body to take decisions regarding the Institute. Its chairman is principal governing authority, and the Director General is the Chief Executive Officer of the Institute. Since inception, we have 13 chairman BOGs and 17 DGs, including present DGs. Except from 2 chairmen who were, one was a politician, the other was from Naval Chief Admiral Iftikhar Isuri. Remaining all were from Foreign Service. And for the Director General, 6 were from Army, 1 Civil Service, 3 Academia, and 7 Foreign Services highly placed officers. However, their stay was as minimum to 2 years, 2 months to 8 years or so. The Institute was visited prominent personalities of the world. Some photographs are shown here. It is one of them is Nelson Mandela, who visited the Institute in early 90s. Probably we don't have exact date at the moment. General Pervez Musharraf had been visiting regularly. Mr. Jawad Zarif, Iranian President of Afghanistan, Mr. Ashraf Ghani, General Zubair, Honorable Mr. Arif Alvi, the President of Pakistan, and the institutional top heads had also visited, along with, including the visits of our think tanks to the Institute. Now, permanent home of ISSI, I would like to explain that this building Before it was constructed, the government had offered two plots, one in Qaid-e-Azam University measuring 2,000 square yards, and the other one this building. The then management decided to have to accept this plot. It is its size, its area is 2,022.2 square yards. Its initial construction cost was 4.9, but due to escalation, it rose to 10 million, including payment to CDA for plot. Direct supervision of PWD engineers, and its floor area is 18,000 square feet, 6,000 of each floor, three floors, or we are having three floors, and another 400 square feet of servant quarters and garages, etc. Its, while construction, its quality control was monitored by Brigadier Noor Hussain himself. It was his extraordinary commitment and till last moment, but he was the Director General at the end of 1986. The institute was then inaugurated by General Pervez Musharraf, the President of Pakistan.
General Ziaul Haq. General Ziaul Haq.
I'm sorry. General Ziaul Haq on January 4, 1987. Sir, in 2020, the government provided funds for renovation of the building. It started. The Ashraf Jahangir Qazi Saab, our Director General, who was the first one who initiated, who surveyed the building, got it worked out by his one of the architect friend or perhaps relative. But we approached the government, but we could not get the fund. And Ambassador Masood Khan, on his assuming the as a Director General, he visited the Secretary Housing and Works and requested him that the institute building needs major repair. It had not been looked after for over 26 years of age. It was in a pathetic stage. We got prepared the PC1, which could not be approved despite our best efforts. On the assumption of charge by Ambassador Azaz Ahmad Chaudhry, he pursued vigorously, and finally, with the approach with the Foreign Minister and Minister of Development Projects, he managed to get 30 million rupees for its renovation. It includes the infrastructure repair, renovation, and a lift to be installed in the institute. Gentlemen, with this, I end my presentation. I thank you all for hearing me patiently.
Thank you so much, Khurshid Saab. Thank you for those details on the institute and the history of it.
Najam?
Sir?
If I can come in for 1 minute.
Please go ahead, sir.
As Najam is going to invite all of you to speak, may I request that you may, while sharing your own impressions of the time that you were associated with the institute, would also provide us ideas that you think will be helpful based on your own experience and interactions with the think tanks the world over. And therefore, whatever ideas you're going to give to us, we want to jot them down, and we will see that if we can adopt and implement some of them in run up to the 50th anniversary. So that's what I just wanted to suggest. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Excellent suggestion, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now move on to our next speaker. Our next speaker scheduled was Mr. Ross Masood Hussain. However, because of his prior commitment, he was gracious enough to send us a written text, which I will be reading out on his behalf. By way of introduction, Mr. Ross Masood Hussain was the first ever, as Khurshid Saab pointed out, Director General of the Institute of Strategic Studies. Mr. Hussain joined Civil Services of Pakistan in 1951 and has put in over 50 years of service in the fields of public administration, international law, diplomacy, and strategic policy planning, including senior assignments with the government of Pakistan and various international organizations. Currently serving as the chairman of Strategic Vision Institute, Mr. Ross Masood served as Director General ISSI from June 14, 1973 till March 16, 1976. He later also served as the fourth Director General from February 23rd, 1989 till May 31st, 1990. I will read out the text that he has graciously shared with us on his behalf. Ladies and gentlemen, I am honored and grateful to the Institute of Strategic Studies for inviting me to give a few remarks on the 47th anniversary of its establishment by me. My heartiest congratulations to the Institute of Strategic Studies for completing 47 successful years. I would like to mention the significance that think tanks hold for any country. They are considered as effective instruments in bridging the gap between knowledge and policy. This objective is often achieved by informing, sometimes influencing, the policy process. Think tanks work as research institute conducting research and offering advocacy. In recent times, think tanks have emerged on the policy landscape as influential players providing guidance to the decision makers on a number of policy issues, such as social policy, political strategy, economics, and many more. An in-depth policy-oriented research carried out by the think tanks allows them to serve as ancillary bodies to the interest groups, which could be governmental as well as commercial clients. They have legitimized their positions by conducting academic debates led by their main intellectual source, that is, their professional research staff. The findings thus generated are the decoction of extensive scholastic debate and discussion. This has entitled them to offer much needed advisory support to the decision makers who otherwise would find it challenging to formulate informed policy initiatives. Their ever-growing relevance, however, is not just confined to the national bounds. In today's globalized world, think tanks as soft power tools have quite organically been able to make easy inroads by collaborating with policy institutes in different countries. This networking among think tanks from private and public sectors with diverse ideological, cultural, and political orientation has not only enhanced mutual understanding and generated new knowledge, but has sufficiently shepherded regional and international policy discourse. It has also resulted in creating an open environment for international communication, information gathering, and creative policy analysis. A collective advice received from a network of think tanks is often more enriched and well-rounded, guaranteeing a sustainable plan of action by the decision makers. No doubt, the global expansion and networking has positively impacted the performance of think tanks. Hence, for any state and in public, in order to have an informed policy, it is extremely important to harness the vast knowledge resource for which a pluralistic and balanced think tank setup would come in handy. Last but not the least, as a plausible diplomatic machinery and intellectual ambassadors, think tanks have been actively helping states earn a favorable spot at the international level. I am glad that after my establishment of the ISSI, there has been a phenomenal growth in the establishment of think tanks all over the country. I feel pride and pleasure in being part of this process and wish to congratulate the ISSI on their 47th anniversary and wish them all the best in the future. Thank you. With those remarks, may I now request our next speaker, Mr. Qasim Riaz, who had been a research fellow at the Institute of Strategic Studies in the late 1970s. Qasim Riaz, sir, you have the floor, sir. Before I ask you to give your formal comments, let me introduce you. Mr. Qasim Niaz initially worked on the research staff of the Institute of Strategic Studies, Islamabad, 1978 to 1980. Thereafter, he joined the Pakistan Administrative Service. Subsequently, he served in the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Commerce, the Establishment Division, and the Prime Minister's Secretariat. From 1995 to 1997, he worked as assistant to the executive director of the World Bank in Washington, D.C. From 2008 to 2019, he remained posted in the Pakistan mission to the EU in Brussels. On his return, he was posted as the Secretary Commerce. After retirement in 2014, he worked in the private sector till September 2016, and thereafter headed the National Tariff Commission as its chairman for 2 years. Nyasa, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Najam. Feel very privileged and honored to be part of this celebration of the Institute. I'd like to also thank Azaz Chaudhry, not only my batchmate, but we were neighbors. We were in neighboring rooms in the Civil Services Academy. And then many years later, when I was posted in Brussels, he was in a neighboring country in the Netherlands. So, and of course, we've always kept in touch. I in fact started my working life with the Institute of Strategic Studies after I came back from, graduated from the London School of Economics, and I came back to Islamabad. In fact, there were 3 of us who were hired by the then Director General, Brigadier Noor Hussain, who's been mentioned. He hired 3 of us, and we were in the same room. One of them was Dr. Nazir Kamal. Dr. Nazir Kamal, who's been mentioned, he's also, incidentally, the younger brother of Mr. Ambassador Shahid Kamal of the Foreign Office. The other, of course, there was myself, and the third person was also an eminent individual by the name of Dr. Shireen Mazari. At the time, she was not, she hadn't done a PhD yet, but she was also part of the research staff. So there were 3 of us who joined, and we were in the same room and we worked. So I think then Dr. Nazir Kamal and Shireen left while I was still there, and another person who joined us was Tehseen Riaz, the sister of Mushahid Hussain, who is now, of course, been with the World Bank for a number of years. When we started working, in fact, we were in a small house in F63, street number 4. But we were there for a few months, and then we moved to the premises on the main Margala Road, which a lot of you would be familiar with. So that was in a way the Institute sort of took off. At the time, our main emphasis, of course, was on Afghanistan, because as you would remember, 1979 was when the Russian invasion of Afghanistan took place, and that was a very scary time in a sense. I think where this feeling was that this was just the stepping stone, and the Russians may very well the next step may be to come to Pakistan, to the warm waters. So there was that atmosphere, and so a lot of the main focus was on the Afghanistan situation and with the Russians being there. The others, of course, the beginning of the library had taken place, and resources were being added. But one thing you would also noteworthy is that you did not have the internet at that point. And as we all know, with the coming of the internet has been, that's been a major multiplier in terms of academic resources that can be used by researchers. So, so we were there for, I was there for about 2 years, and it was a very small institution at the time. I mean, at any one time, the research staff was about between 3 and 5, not more than that. So I think it's now very gratifying to see the paradigm shift that is taking place, and I am told that there is now almost 25 research staff, and and so there is a solid team which is engaged in research. In the time I was there, it was more of it was people were sort of transiting through the institute, like myself. I mean, I took the civil service exam, and I left to join the civil service. But now it appears that people who are joining are here for the long careers, and one can see. I think this has now become a very sustainable situation. So it's very gratifying to see that. It is also, as Ambassador Aziz mentioned, I mean, there have been the development of these 4 centers has added another very important dimension. And I think these centers now, in a way, differentiate them from a number of other think tanks that are there. Of course, in those days, you had very few think tanks, but now there are, as we all know, there is a proliferation of think tanks of varying quality, but nevertheless, there are a number of them, both in the public sector and the private sector. So, which I think is obviously a very good thing. I'll just, I think, end by just mentioning some of the few of the staff members who were there at the time. There was a gentleman by the name of Mr. Hasnan, Mr. Madni, and Arif. He was the PSO. There were these 3 people on the support staff, and there were 3 or 4, Naib Qasid and driver, etc. And 3 to 4 people on the research staff and the Director General. So that was about it at that point, but it is now great to see that what started off as a very small institute has now blossomed to become a very sizable, both quantitatively as well as qualitatively. Thank you, I think.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Qasim Saab. Yes, of course, we have improved both qualitatively and quantitatively. Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker on the list is Mr. Chengiz Abbasi. Like I said, Mr. Abbasi has not been able to join us, but he has shared a video message that we will be playing for you. Mr. Chengiz Abbasi was the library assistant at the Institute of Strategic Studies, and he served his whole life at the Institute of Strategic Studies from 1973 till he retired in 2019, just recently. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now play a message by Mr. Chengiz Abbasi. We can't hear. Voice. Seems to be some problem regarding the voice. Farhan, can you work that out, please? No, I think it's not working. It's not working. Farhan, you can stop that. Perhaps if you work the technicalities out, we can play that later. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is Ambassador Ashraf Jahangir Qazi. Ambassador Ashraf Jahangir Qazi was the 13th Director General of the Institute of Strategic Studies from March 3rd, 2011 till March 2nd, 2013. Before joining the Institute of Strategic Studies, Ambassador Ashraf Qazi was a career diplomat who served in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Pakistan and held several national and international appointments, including serving with the United Nations. Ambassador Ashraf Qazi, sir, you have the floor, sir.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Chairman Sahib and Director General Sahib, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and respects to the guests of honor, Mr. Sartaj Aziz and Ambassador Inamul Haq. I regret to begin on a rather somber note with regard to my very dear friend and former chairman of the ISSI, Mr. Gul Hanif, who is very seriously unwell in Karachi, very seriously unwell. And I hope in our hearts we can all pray for his recovery, inshallah ta'ala. With these words, I would like to congratulate the Institute, the current staff, including Chairman and Director General, and those who preceded them, including the staff, among whom some very famous people are named, are a part of the history, for having started the Institute from very modest beginnings to its enviable status that it enjoys today as arguably Pakistan's foremost foreign policy institute, which is associated with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and which is now exploring new possibilities to deal with the challenges of the new era which is dawning upon us. In this respect, I would like to congratulate the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for having encouraged from day one and facilitated the progress of the Institute and having asked some of its very finest career officers to contribute to the Institute directly. And I think more than ever today we can appreciate, as a country that is surrounded by very important countries with which we have very important relations and very important challenges that have to be dealt with, there is an enormous need for a foreign policy community, which should involve, arguably, most of the intelligentsia of the country, all over the country. And I hope a time will come when the Institute can open up branches in each one of the capitals so that its message is not just confined to the capital, but becomes part of the discussions and sort of narratives that are built up in various other parts of the country. So we are indeed today, and it's been mentioned, entering into a new era, and already the Institute has expanded its centers of excellence, and with regard to many of the traditional subjects of foreign policy for Pakistan, which will remain and will increase in importance for Pakistan. But there are some new entrants, such as climate change, which poses unique challenges to the world, to the region, and to Pakistan, along with all the other countries of the world. And then, of course, we are going through this pandemic of COVID-19, which may well be succeeded by subsequent waves of this pandemic, and which is in some ways considered by experts to be related to climate change. So I think you will have medical experts, etc. But how these challenges impact on foreign policy could really be also something to which the Institute could turn its attention. We also have signs of a new Cold War emerging, between America and China. And China, of course, is Pakistan's most reliable strategic partner, and a partner that has been tested by time. And both ways, we have turned out to be a true friend, a reliable friend of China, and vice versa, China has. But as we enter into an era of new challenges, we must also be aware of new challenges that can be posed to our relationship. As you know, there are countries which want to drive a wedge between Pakistan and China and never stop their efforts in this respect. We need how to deal with these issues. So once again, with these words, I want to congratulate everyone, and particularly Chairman Khalid Mahmood and Director General Aziz for having really taken the Institute forward to a new phase, and who are now preparing for a new era of challenges and opportunities for the Institute. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Qazi Sahab. Thank you for those remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, our technical expert has worked out the problems in the message from Changiz Abbasi. We shall now be playing that for you. Farhan.
नहमदुहु व नसल्ली अला रसूलिल करीम वस्सलातु वस्सलामु अला खातिमुन नबिय्यीन। मैं जनाब डायरेक्टर जनरल साहब इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ स्टडी का शुक्रिया अदा करता हूँ कि मुझ जैसे एक नाचीज़ अदना मुलाज़म को उन्होंने आज ये एजाज़ बख्शा कि मैं इंस्टीट्यूट के बारे में चंद कलमात अदा कर सकूं। जनाबे वाला मुझे टोटल 5 मिनट दिए गए और 5 मिनट में 47 साल का अहाता करना बहुत मुश्किल है। यह इदारा जून 1973 में कायम हुआ। इब्तदाई दिनों में यह इदारा फॉरेन ऑफिस के अंदर कायम हुआ। उसके बाद चंद माह में एक प्राइवेट घर किराए पे लेके F63 में शिफ्ट हुआ। उस वक्त इस इदारे में टोटल 10 लोग थे और जनाब रास मसूद साहब की निगरानी में ये इदारा कायम हुआ। जनाब रास मसूद साहब ने अनथक मेहनत की। उस वक्त कोई रिसर्च स्टाफ नहीं था और रिसर्च का सारा काम भी जनाब रास मसूद साहब अकेले करते थे और उन्हें ये एजाज़ हासिल था कि वो 2 दिन के अंदर अंदर एक पेपर लिख लेते थे जनाब रास मसूद साहब के बाद डॉक्टर एम.आर. खान आए और 1 साल उन्होंने गुजारा। 5 जुलाई 1977 को जब मार्शल लॉ लगा तो 9 जुलाई को वो चले गए। उसके बाद 1-2 महीने के लिए मुख्तलिफ डीजी आते रहे। 78 में जनाब ब्रिगेडियर नूर हुसैन साहब आए और उन्होंने आकर बाकायदा इस इदारे को ऑर्गेनाइज किया। उन्होंने बहुत काम किया और इस इदारे की जो लाइब्रेरी है उसको जदीद खतूत पर इस्तेमाल किया और ये लाइब्रेरी जदीद खतूत पर इस्तेमाल किया और ये लाइब्रेरी पाकिस्तान की मशहूर लाइब्रेरियों में शुमार होती रही। जनाब ब्रिगेडियर नूर हुसैन साहब ने सीडीए से ये प्लाट लिया और इस पे बिल्डिंग बनवाई और जब बिल्डिंग का इफ्तिताह हुआ तो अगले दिन ब्रिगेडियर साहब को हटा दिया गया और जनरल कमाल मतीनुद्दीन तशरीफ लाए। उन्होंने भी बहुत अच्छा काम किया और लाइब्रेरी के अंदर उनके लिए हमने एक डेस्क बना रखा था जिस पर वो 2 घंटे बैठते थे और उन्होंने इंस्टीट्यूट की लाइब्रेरी में बैठकर 2 किताबें लिखी। जनरल कमाल मतीनुद्दीन के बाद बहुत से डीजी आए। क्योंकि सबका नाम लेना 5 मिनट के अंदर अंदर उनके बारे में कुछ कहना मेरे लिए मुश्किल है। उसके बाद जनाब डॉक्टर श्री मज़ारी 2001 में आई। डॉक्टर श्री मज़ारी ने भी बहुत काम किया, इस इदारे के वक़ार में इजाफा किया। डॉक्टर साहिबा ज़बान की तरफ थी लेकिन दिल की बहुत अच्छी थी, वो गरीब परवर भी थी। उसके बाद डॉक्टर श्री मज़ारी के बाद भी मुख्तलिफ डीजीज आए और उसके बाद जब सरदार मसूद साहब तशरीफ लाए तो उन्होंने भी इस इदारे पर खुसूसी तवज्जो दी। इस इदारे इसकी बिल्डिंग और इसके साफ सुथराई के मामले में उन्होंने बड़ा काम किया और रिसर्च टीम को ऑर्गेनाइज किया। उसके बाद वो आज़ाद कश्मीर के सदर बनकर चले गए। फिर एक साल तक जनाब चेयरमैन साहब ने इस इदारे को रन किया, उन्होंने भी बड़ी मेहनत की। उसके बाद मौजूदा डीजी साहब तशरीफ लाए, इन्होंने बहुत काम किया और इस इदारे के अंदर मुख्तलिफ सेंटर बनाए और हर सेंटर को मुख्तलिफ काम दिए और खुसूसन करोड़ों रुपए का बजट इस बिल्डिंग के लिए वो लेके आए। जाओ गुज़िश्ता 3 माह से ये बिल्डिंग में काम हो रहा है और इंशाअल्लाह मुझे यकीन है कि 2-3 महीनों के और उसके बाद जब सरदार मसूद साहब तशरीफ लाए तो उन्होंने भी इस इदारे पर खुसूसी तवज्जो दी। इस इदारे इसकी बिल्डिंग और इसके साफ सुथराई के मामले में उन्होंने बड़ा काम किया और रिसर्च टीम को ऑर्गेनाइज किया। उसके बाद वो आज़ाद कश्मीर के सदर बनकर चले गए। फिर एक साल तक जनाब चेयरमैन साहब ने इस इदारे को रन किया, उन्होंने भी बड़ी मेहनत की। उसके बाद मौजूदा डीजी साहब तशरीफ लाए, इन्होंने बहुत काम किया और इस इदारे के अंदर मुख्तलिफ सेंटर बनाए और हर सेंटर को मुख्तलिफ काम दिए और खुसूसन करोड़ों रुपए का बजट इस बिल्डिंग के लिए वो लेके आए। जाओ गुज़िश्ता 3 माह से ये बिल्डिंग में काम हो रहा है और इंशाअल्लाह मुझे यकीन है कि 2-3 महीनों के बाद ये बिल्डिंग कंप्लीट हो जाएगी और ये लाइब्रेरी ऑर्गेनाइज होगी और ये लाइब्रेरी का हाल इस्लामाबाद के खूबसूरत तरीन हाल में शुमार होगा। मैं जनाब दुआ करता हूँ कि जनाब सरदार मसूद जनाब इज़्ज़ात चौधरी साहब को अल्लाह लंबी ज़िंदगी और सेहत कामला अता फरमाए और उनकी ज़ेर निगरानी ये इदारा दिन दुगनी और रात चुगनी तरक्की करे। जनाब वाला, मैंने तकरीबन 46 साल से ज़्यादा अरसा इस इदारे में गुजारा, दिन रात इस इदारे की खिदमत की और जब गुज़श्ता साल मुझे रिटायर किया गया तो बड़े एजाज़ के साथ मुझे घर भेजा गया। आप यकीन जानिए कि जब मैंने इंस्टीट्यूट छोड़ा तो ये मैं महसूस कर रहा था कि आज मैं अपने घर से परदेश जा रहा हूँ। मुझे इस इदारे की दरो दीवार से प्यार है। मैंने अपनी जवानी अपना शबाब इस इदारे को दिया और दिन रात इस इदारे की खिदमत की। चूँकि 5 मिनट में मैं तो बहुत कुछ कहना चाहता था, लेकिन इस शेर के साथ मैं इजाज़त चाहता हूँ कि माना कि तेरे शहर को गुलशन न कर सके हम, कुछ खार तो कम कर दिए गुजरे जिधर से हम।
Thank you, Farhan, for sharing that message by Chingiz. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is Ambassador Khalid Mahmood. Ambassador Khalid Mahmood is the 13th Chairman Board of Governors, Institute of Strategic Studies. He is also a former ambassador of Pakistan to Iran, Iraq, China, Saudi Arabia, and Mongolia. Ambassador Khalid Mahmood is the longest serving chairman of the Institute, serving since November 11, 2013 to date. Sir, you have the floor. And unmute yourself, sir. Unmute kar. Ji sir, ho gaya sir.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I really feel great pleasure at being part of ISSI's 47th anniversary celebrations. I'm overawed by the long line of illustrious personages who have led this institute as chairpersons and director generals. We have already recalled the contribution, especially by Mr. Ras Masood and also Brigadier Noor Hussain. And some of the former chairpersons and director general are present here this morning. Mr. Sartaj Aziz, Mr. Inamul Haq, Ambassador Ashraf Jahangir Qazi, and also we had with us a staffer from those days and research associate, Mr. Hassan Niaz. My association with this institute informally dates back to early 90s. I was an ambassador of Pakistan to Tehran, and the former chairman of the institute, Mr. Poya, asked me that whenever I come to Pakistan, I should speak on Pak-Iran relations. And that was my first interaction with the institute. And then, though I was not associated with the institute, but another Director General, Dr. Tanveer Ahmad Khan, he twice asked me to lead the ISSI delegations to Tehran to interact with IPIS, the institute in Tehran, which I did. And during Mr. Agha Shai's tenure as chairperson, I used to often visit the institute. But little did I know that one day I myself would become chairman of the institute. And I owe this office to Mr. Sartaj Aziz. He chose me to become chairman of the institute in 2013. I think this was one of his good decisions, as is evident from the fact that I have become the longest serving chairman of the institute. During this time, I have worked with 3 director generals, Dr. Rasul Baksh Rais, Ambassador Masood Khan, and now Ambassador Azaz Chaudhry. Comparisons are invidious, but each one of them building upon the legacies of their predecessors have been working to enhance this institute's relevance, outreach, and image. The details have been provided by Director Administration, Mr. Khurshid. 2 very significant improvements which I have seen in the last 2 years since Mr. Azaz Chaudhry took over charge. It has already been made reference to that, is the establishment of 4 centers dealing respectively with India, China, Middle East, Africa, and arms control and disarmament. And second thing which I have seen, which is very important, is that the linkage with the parent organization, Foreign Ministry, has been further deepened. I think this is a very positive development because the Institute doesn't work in a void, but it focuses on those subjects, issues which are of live concern to the ministry and the government at large. I recall that when I was acting both as chairman and director general, Mr. Sartaj Aziz, he was advisor on foreign affairs, though he was not a member of board of governors, but he made it a point that whenever there was a meeting of the board of governors, he would personally attend those meetings, and the board really benefited from his very wise guidance. The same thing has been continued by Mr. Shah Mahmood Qureshi. He also makes it a point that to attend the meetings of the board of governors, and he's also a very frequent visitor to the institute. Another important contribution of Azaz Chaudhry is that he has introduced this confidential briefs. That is in a very succinct manner, just 2-pager. From time to time, the Institute prepares its viewpoints on some important issue, and that is circulated to the policymakers concerned in confidence. So there is no use, of course, blowing one's trumpet, and it is for others to see and judge what the Institute is, or what contribution the Institute is making in the foreign policy, security fields, and in promoting the image of Pakistan. But the Institute has achieved not the sole efforts of the Director General or the Chairman. It has been a combined effort of really the the team of researchers which we have, and the administrative staff, which in my view, I found them as good as in any other institutions. And it was really timely and well deserved that we recalled their contributions to the Institute. We with these words, I would wish a happy anniversary to all of them, to all of us, and to ISSI. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for those remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is the guest of honor, Mr. Sartaj Aziz. Mr. Sartaj Aziz served as the 7th chairman officiating at Board of Governors Institute of Strategic Studies from October 24, 1998 till December 28, 1998. Mr. Aziz joined the civil services of Pakistan in 1950. He served as Joint Secretary in the Planning Commission of Pakistan in 1967. Besides this, he has served as advisor on foreign affairs and national security to Prime Minister and as Finance Minister and Foreign Minister of Pakistan as well. His last appointment was Deputy Chairman of the Planning Commission of Pakistan. Sir, you have the floor.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I'm indeed very happy to join this celebration, and I want to congratulate Ambassador Khalid Mahmood and Ambassador Azaz Chaudhry and all the colleagues on this occasion. We have also had some useful introductory statements which were both informative and useful. The important role that research institutions play in the policy making of countries has already been mentioned. Unfortunately, Pakistan's endeavors in this respect have not been very successful, and we have very few what I would call world-class research institutions. In this context, the Institute of Strategic Studies is a very notable exception because this is one institution in one area in which you have made very good progress. And you've already heard the details of the work they have done, how they have expanded the number of research papers, policy briefs, publications and conferences, etc. They have held. And particularly in the last 2 years, since Azaz Chaudhry joined, we have had not only a healthy spike in the activities as a whole, but also 2 useful initiatives in setting up these centers of excellence and the preparation of policy brief for stakeholders. So I want to compliment him for this. Now, other speakers have discussed factors which make world-class institutions of research possible. I agree with those. In this case, first is, of course, a short budget. And the sponsorship of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Institute has ensured that this budget is ensured and doesn't have to bother about financing. But the second most important factor is that no other ministry has a comparable pool of human resources like the Foreign Office. So that is why most of the chairmen and director generals have come, and the Foreign Office on merit has chosen their best people. And therefore, if you have these 2 combinations, good people and money, results will come. But I'll mention a third factor, and that is that whosoever is responsible, the ministry concerned, should respect the autonomy and the professional character of the institute in terms of what they choose. And this particularly is true in this case also. And in my own personal experience, I've been associated with the institute, as just mentioned, attended many conferences, seminars, chaired roundtables and guest speakers, and also attended many board meetings. But I always respected the autonomy and professional character of the institute. I went there when they wanted more budget or they wanted some advice on priorities. Otherwise, I think these 3 factors, if you have the money, you have the autonomy, and you have the right people, the institute gets successful. And that's why Foreign Office has provided some of the most outstanding people, Agha Elali, Agha Shai, and many others that have already been mentioned. Now, coming to the future, as Azaz Chaudhry said, what should we do next? Now, if you look at the successful institution, the first priority is quality research. In my view, second-class research is worse than no research. So therefore, the basic purpose is what are the, at the end of each year, the institute should evaluate what percentage of the research can be called quality research, average research, and below average research. So that will be one. Second is what I call path-breaking publications. Any report, any monograph, anything which creates ripples in the media and in the policy-making circles as path-breaking. And third is landmark conferences, conferences which change the shape of history or shape of relationships and so on and so forth. So I think if in the coming years, looking at the work program, if the institute will identify one or two pieces of research which stand out, one or two publications which stand out, and at least one conference a year which is remembered for its output, then I would call the institute making new ground and becoming more successful. And I'm sure with the kind of momentum it has built, the kind of volume and connectivity it has established, it can produce path-breaking publications as well as outstanding conferences. So with these words, I wish it even greater success in the future.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for those valuable remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is also a guest of honor, Ambassador Inamul Haq. Ambassador Inam served as the 10th Chairman, Board of Governors, Institute of Strategic Studies from September 23, 2005 till September 4, 2008. Ambassador Inam was a career diplomat who joined the Foreign Services in 1965. He held various important positions nationally and internationally during his service, which also included Pakistan's permanent representative to the United Nations, Foreign Secretary of Pakistan, and Minister of State for Foreign Affairs in 2002. Inam Sahib, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I would like to begin by thanking Ambassador Azamut Chaudhry, the Director General of the Institute, and the Chairman of the Board of Governors, Ambassador Khalid Mahmood, for inviting me to participate in this webinar being held to mark and celebrate the 47th year of the establishment of the Institute of Strategic Studies. During these years of its existence, the Institute has become, and I'm prejudiced when I say perhaps, the premier think tank and research institution of Pakistan because of its work on strategic, security, and foreign policy issues confronting Pakistan as well as the international community. Over the years, the Institute has established itself as a think tank with international standing and international recognition. I'm particularly happy to attend this meeting since I have had the honor of serving as the Chairman of the Board of Governors from 2005 to 2008. I took over from an icon of the foreign policy establishment of Pakistan, the late Mr. Agha Shahi, who had been a guide and a mentor for me particularly since the very beginning of my career. When we joined the ministry, he was additional secretary in charge of most of the issues because there were only 2 additional secretaries at that time. And he was known to be a holy terror in the Foreign Office. And then I had the good fortune to be posted as 3rd secretary in New York when he was serving there as the permanent representative. He had guided me throughout my career, and I think we must remember him whenever we talk of the Institute and the Foreign Office. Dr. Shiri Mazari, of course, was the Director General of the Institute at that time. A fiery spirit, a fighting spirit, very short of temper, but with a heart of gold. These days, she is serving as our Minister for Human Rights. It was also during my stay as the Chairman of the Board of Governors that I was invited to participate in the cabinet of Mr. Mohammad Mia Sumro as the Foreign Minister in 2008. I enjoyed my stay at the Institute. Those were good days. We had the pleasure and the privilege of hosting the then President of Pakistan, General Pervez Musharraf, the then Prime Minister Sartaj Aziz, at the Institute on a number of occasions to give inaugural and keynote addresses and also to interact with the audience in freewheeling question and answer sessions, which always proved to be very interesting and critical. The Institute has moved on since then, and I'm happy that under its present leadership, apart from its regular meetings, research and publications on strategic security and foreign policy issues, it is preparing special briefs for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs on issues of topical and long-term interest to Pakistan. The Institute has also established 4 centers, including a center on China, India, Middle East and Africa, and arms control and disarmament. I note that the elephant in the room is missing from these centers, which is the United States of America. But I suppose that all of these centers in their work are also looking at what is the United States foreign policy in respect of the countries that have been chosen as centers. I would also have thought that perhaps the Center on India should have been called the Center on South Asia, because at various times throughout our existence, we have been accused of being India-centric. And perhaps it is better to spread it out a little so that other countries of South Asia, including Afghanistan, feel that they are a part of this region and they are being considered by Pakistan as equal partners in its research and other activities. But in any event, I congratulate the Institute and the entire ISSI team for their achievements. I will conclude by wishing the Institute greater success in the years ahead. I thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for those remarks.
May I beg your leave now? I would like to beg my leave from all of you. Thank you.
Please go ahead. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Thank you.
हेलो नजम
सर
नजम
सर
हाँ वो मुझे उन्होंने अनम्यूट नहीं किया मैं जरा सरताज साहब से कुछ कहना चाह रहा था तो आई विश के मेरा ये माइक खोल देते वक्त
सर
चलिए गो अहेड नाउ जी
सर it's going to be up to you to round up, sir, so you have the floor.
जी I just want to thank everyone but start with special prayers for the recovery of Ambassador Gul Hanif, who was my second ambassador of the career in Qatar when I was posted there. And I've had 2 years with him and ever since maintained, and he's such a fine human being. He was part of the ISSI community and I wish him speedy recovery, full recovery. Allah give him good health. I want to say that what a pleasure it has been to listen to everyone, and we are setting a tradition which we hope that we can continue. We would like to preserve all these ideas as our archive. I hope that this not This is not a one-off event. I hope that we can every year preserve and maintain our archives and build up to 2023. My special thanks to Ambassador Khalid Mahmood, who's been source of strength, and he rightly mentioned the support that we have received from Ministry of Foreign Affairs, especially the Foreign Minister, who personally visited the Institute a number of times and was supportive in every respect, and so is the Foreign Secretary. And because of that, nearly every Directorate General within the Foreign Ministry has been responsive and participatory in our activities. So we're very happy about it. Ambassador Kazi mentioned something very important, that apart from foreign and security policy issues, we must also focus on non-traditional security threats like climate change. And I want to assure him that the area that we have added to our work is governance and economy, as well as non-traditional security threats like water security, climate change, etc. And this is part and parcel of our work now, because we increasingly realize that internal and external issues are getting interconnected. Thank you, Qasim, for sharing, for being with us. And we hope to get all the others also included that you mentioned, the icons of that time, in our next get together. Changiz Basi, I especially wanted him to be part of it. Because he spent his entire lifetime, and he was so, his heart and soul was committed. He was a Naib Qasid, but he spent 46 years and with total dedication. I saw one year of his work, and I saw that he would run around to set up the conference rooms and whatever was assigned to him. It doesn't really matter what status you carry, what role you, the important thing is कि जो आप काम कर रहे हैं वो आप ऑनर और डिग्निटी के साथ कर रहे हैं. अगर आप माली हैं या अगर आप नायब कासिद हैं, अगर आप अच्छा कर रहे हैं, I think that is what should be the sense of achievement, and Changiz Abbasi certainly had that. Sartaj Saab, he's a man of ideas, and I was very happy that he mentioned 3 ideas, and I wanted to tell him, and I will tell him on telephone now, because my this mic was not on, I couldn't stop him, that for quality research, the first idea that he gave, we have introduced the concept of KPIs, key policy indicator, performance indicators, and that is helping us to draft a curve. And we hope that through this encouragement system, we should be able to identify a certain percentage of quality research that we'll be able to produce. This other, he rightly mentioned, path-breaking publications. We're trying to get there. 1 or 2 should be there, but I think some of them have really, for example, we started a publication, quarterly publication, Pivot magazine of China Center. It has really caught on. And there are demands like, hundreds of editions copies are being sought. Third idea again is very good, and we'll include it as part of our vision to have a landmark conference. In fact, we have thought of Islamabad Forum, and a concept note has been prepared, and I'm very shortly planning to propose it to the Foreign Ministry for February 2021, where we could bring together, provided of course a COVID pandemic is over. Otherwise, we'll find a web-based idea for that landmark conference. Ambassador Inam has always been gracious to us, and personally also to me. His mentioning this as a premier institute, as a premier think tank is a badge of honor for us. And I want to also tell him that the United States, perhaps in some times, will have a separate Center for America Studies, but as he himself alluded, United States is a cross-cutting theme. And every center is somehow engaged with what US does or does not do vis-a-vis the work that they are doing. And therefore, we have a researcher working full-time on US, but United States linkages with China, with India, with Middle East, are factors that you can never ignore. And therefore, those centers are very much talking about them. Why we established India Study Center and not South Asia Study Center? In this country, we have had South Asia Study Center always. And I pondered over it for telling you for good 6 months. And I felt that while we focus on it, South Asia, we tend to forget the elephant in the subcontinent, which is India. And we don't focus on it as much as we need to focus on it. And in India, for instance, I have studied the Jawaharlal Nehru University's archives. I have studied some others, hundreds of PhDs only on Pakistan. And we have not studied India enough. The fault lines that it carries, the strengths and the weaknesses that it carries. So hence we thought that we should carry this time India Study Center, but that is not to say that South Asian neighbors are not important. In fact, only last week we did India's aggressions towards its neighbors, and we brought in all into the fold. But still, it's an important suggestion not to ignore the other South Asian countries. We want to really thank you so much for all that you have contributed today. We hope to prepare this as a report to serve as a working paper for our next year's session. And hopefully, if pandemic is gone, we will have a reception. That was the original plan. A reception in a newly renovated building, and the renovation is going on. It will be a brand new building, and will be very, very happy to come back to normalcy once this COVID is gone. Allah Ta'ala se dua hai, aap sab ke liye bhi, खुदा हमें भी महफूज रखे, आप सबको भी महफूज रखे, और हमारी कौम को भी। ये एक बहुत भयानक किस्म की बीमारी ने, वबा ने हम पे हमला किया है, तो हम सब इससे मुतासर हो रहे हैं, लेकिन इसका एक ही हल है कि हम इससे डरे नहीं बल्कि इसको लड़ें, और जितनी हिफाजत कर सकते हैं उतनी हिफाजत करें। खुदा ताला आपका हम सबका हामी नासिर हो और हमारे इंस्टीट्यूट को मजीद तरक्की दे। Back to you, Najam.
Thank you so much. That made my job easier. I just need to round off by thanking all our respected guests, all pachyderms in their own right, and of course our participants for joining us at the web celebrations of the 47th anniversary. Thank you all for joining us today. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you.